Yo, how's it going? All right, so we've started the sort of live stream. I'll wait for a few more people to get here, and then I'll kind of get underway. So I just need to get the chat on my phone because I remember last time people were teasing me about getting my face on camera, and now particularly I'm worried about doing that. So I don't want to give away my face reveal just yet. So one sec. We'll just need to have a way that I can look at the chat and hold up. Cool. Right, what's up, guys? How are you guys doing? You know what? Solid 14 people here. I'm liking that. I like that. Screw it. I mean, I guess we'll get underway. So basically, this is going to be a chance for you guys. If you're writing a pick fed, you're thinking of starting writing a pick fed, or maybe you're just interested to hear how I go about writing my pick fed, then it'll be for everyone. So the gist of this is I'll give a couple of introductory notes on how I write my pick fed, and then after that, that'll take like 2-3 minutes, and then after that you can ask me any questions you got. We'll go for an hour, maybe we'll go for longer than that, I don't know at the moment, but just like literally pop your questions about writing pick fed in the chat. It could be in general how to write one, or maybe you've got a fed going on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, maybe in your spare time, and you want questions or advice on how to write certain storylines. Pop them away in the chat, and filming the pick fed right now. Fair. Like, if you've got any questions, just put them in the chat. And yeah, I apologize. I'm not really used to this kind of presenting style. Usually I'm more able to have my animation, my live stream animating set up where I just get on with it. So I'm going to try and be a good host. As you can see, hello. But this will do for now. You can have this like background, and I might get some figures out to explain my points in parts of the video. But for now, this is a good enough setup. I don't know what to call it. But right, so I'll start off. Basically, I'll give you an overview of how I write pick feds. I did do a tutorial about 2 years ago on my channel where I explained in a fair amount of detail. It's only like 5 minutes. It's called How to Write a WWE Pick Fed. Search that on YouTube on my channel. It hopefully would help you as like a basic, but I'll just go over it in kind of, more general terms. So the first thing I would start off with when you're writing a pick fed, and by the way, keep sending questions in the chat. I will get around to them in time. So yeah, basically, first off, you want to watch a lot of wrestling. So take inspiration from places, take inspiration from different companies. So you got your New Japans, your AEWs, your WWEs. What you enjoy in wrestling, maybe try and put that into your pick fed. So for example, some good periods of wrestling that you can kind of not necessarily replicate, but definitely take inspiration from. So those early AEW Dynamites, the first ones of those, the Raws in the Attitude Era, the NXT, all of it is great. SmackDown 2016 as well, very good booking. So just take elements of that, those good periods in wrestling, and apply it to your show. For instance, at the moment, I've got, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's feuding with the Undisputed Era in my show. So I take a lot of inspiration from the Attitude Era and the beer bashes and all the wacky stunts that you see, like the one on episode 90 where Stone Cold dropped the car from the crane. That's from, Survivor Series 2000 when he did the same to Triple H. So it's not necessarily stealing outright, but taking inspiration from places, putting it into figure form, and that makes your fed exciting because, you can do as many matches as you want, but I really enjoy pick feds that have good storylines to them and good angles. I'm trying to think of more examples. Like MDT, he did a really good episode where it was his Finn Balor, he was the demon, and he was hunting the champion Kenny Omega, and he was getting in his head throughout the night, and those kind of running storyline threads are really good to look out for. And in terms of matches themselves, fantasy matches are very good for booking pay-per-views and things like that, because you can do John Cena versus Randy Orton in your Fed, but it's been done in real life. Same with like John Moxley versus Kenny Omega. Like, it's a good match, but it's happening right now. So what you want to do, kind of steer away from the typical feuds that you would expect. So I don't know, like Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, for instance. It's been done in real life. I mean, it could, if you've got a new spin on it in your Fed, maybe, but I would go for more fantasy-based matches. So, for example, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk, which I did, and then, oh God, I'm trying to think of more. And John Cena versus Adam Cole. You know, those kind of fantasy matches. Back in the day, I did used to take directly from WWE, so I do like Triple H versus Shawn Michaels and matches that have been done thousands of times before. So I'm kind of a hypocrite in that sense, but it's still good to kind of keep a fantasy spin on your Fed. Have a vibe. I don't know why I wrote that in my notes, by which I mean like craft your own style. So I'll take a couple of examples. You've got Stage Creator, who's got a very modern looking pick Fed, but with some hardcore ECW type elements. My Fed, for example, it kind of based on loosely on the Ruthless Aggression, certainly in the early days, because that's what I grew up with. And Metal at the moment, I'm trying to make it this kind of ECW type hybrid thing. Spam Wrestling as well, he takes a lot of inspiration from the Ruthless Aggression era. Captain McKay Random, his Fed back in the day, very much heavily relied on the Attitude Era, so those kind of wrestlers, and it was really good. So just kind of craft your own style and your own visual identity. You know, when you're watching a guy like Stu, his W3A, that Fed, it's got a very distinct style to it, and you can tell instantly that it's his if you watch him, and it's really good. And just craft your own style, basically, like whatever it may be, and your own kind of way about going about things. In terms of rosters as well, try and steer clear of having too many or too little people. So I'd say the golden spot would be between like 15 and 20 wrestlers. Not too many, but not too much. Not too little, I should say. So you've got enough to kind of create feuds without confusing the audience. Because when you're just starting a pick Fed, you don't want to confuse the audience. You want to have 2 or 3 key stories going on, maybe like 5-ish, and make sure that the audience can easily follow them so that they can actually get invested in your Fed. At the moment, arguably, I've probably got too many storylines going on. So you want to kind of keep it cut back a little bit just so that people can follow. But that's just my opinion. Also have a wide variety of characters. For instance, I mean, this isn't the best wide variety of characters. I suppose it is. You've got the beer drinker, the tribal chief, you know, never gives up, heroic babyface, dastardly heel in Triple H, and then Finn Balor as well. You could have I don't know, I haven't picked the best characters, but, you know, the Fiends, the Undertakers, the Aleister Blacks, guys with like a distinctive personality and style that you can kind of push a narrative with. So, for instance, the Fiend, there's a lot of supernatural elements there that you can have fun with when you're writing shows. And likewise with, the Wyatt family, the Undertaker's ministry, and just, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of characters, but there aren't that many nowadays. Like, I guess, yeah, just, what are the names? Anyway, yeah, but like, you see what I'm trying to say. Keep it like the characters can drive the story. So the Undertaker's got a lot of spooky, supernatural elements kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, again, sorry if I kind of ramble on a little bit. I'm not very used to this style of presenting. 3 championships as well. That's kind of key. You want to have your main title, your mid-card title, and your tag team titles. Don't have too many champions because it makes the belts meaningless. Keep stories basic to start. Yeah, I went through that. And each show you write, I tend to go for like 3 matches a show with maybe a segment or 2 in between. Just means that the audience isn't like too fatigued. I mean, I'm one to talk because I've got like 5 a show, but they're quite short. So I'd say when you're starting out, especially, just keep like 3 matches a show. And the most crucial point, write your pay-per-views first and then work backwards from them. So, for instance, upcoming, I've got Ungovernable and I've got John Moxley versus Kurt Angle. And I knew I wanted that match to happen at Ungovernable. So what I did was I booked the match there and then I worked backwards from the pay-per-view all the way through the Metal episodes, all the way back to when Moxley returned to Metal, because that way you can finish strong, start strong, and build a narrative in the middle. So don't, plan ahead as well. That's a very key thing, because then you'll have a better idea of where your story's going, and it'll mean that the audience that you've created will have a greater investment in the stories, if that makes sense, because they'll be following along, and you can see if you plant seeds in. So for instance, I'll talk about I'll talk about me again, but Austin and Adam Cole, I knew I wanted this rivalry to kind of have a big blow off. So spoiler alert, but they will have a match down the line, and I've been working back from that ever since. You plant the seeds with the John Cena stuff. So I did John Cena versus Adam Cole at my last WrestleMania, and John Cena was injured in that match, and because Stone Cold was going to threaten to fire the Undisputed Era for what they did, the Undisputed Era wasn't too happy about that, so they attacked Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin fought back. He was injured, and then he came back, and now there's all sorts of palaver going on with the latest installment of the story having the car being dropped almost onto the Undisputed Era. So just work your way back from the fantasy matches. So book a big match like Roman Reigns versus The Rock, for instance, and then think of ways that you can tell that story in the build. I think that's all I've really got on my notes for the moment, but I'll just go through your questions just like one by one. So, right. How do you keep the figures stood up if they're not very good at standing still? I guess you could just, you spread the legs apart. So, for instance, you got that. I mean, it's a bad example because I'm trying not to keep my face in the camera. But, yeah, and then you like twist the feet for posing as well in pick fed. Right. And sticky tack as well. Yeah. Right, so Hardy, cowardly heel, as the black strong babyface. That's a good story. Again, just Eli, you've got Jeff Hardy and Aleister Black. That's a good example of a fantasy match that would be people would want to see in real life. And if you put that in your fed, it's quite enticing for people to watch. That's a very good rivalry, yeah. I'm sorry if I skip over some of these as well. I'm thinking of doing pick fed, maybe WrestleMania 2, but figures are old, 1997. Well, major pod. So you've got Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. Their figure podcast thing. They have classic figures, and you can do a pick fed based on that. There's a guy on Instagram who does it with Hasbro figures as well. So you're only limited by. Well, obviously you have to have some figures, but it doesn't matter what they are. Like when I started, all of my figures were broken toys that I had when I was a kid. So they were like the Ruthless Aggression ones. And you remember they were all taped up and bruised and bandaged and whatnot. So, start with what you got. And then in time, you could get more or whatever, or just stick to that aesthetic. So Drake Maverick being cocky heel, babyface Cody Rhodes. That's a good one because you can have, gimmicks like, think of strong gimmicks as well for wrestlers. So they don't have to be from real life. But Drake Maverick, he's used to be Rockstar Spud, very charismatic, and he can be like the short guy who talks a lot, a big game, and maybe pair him up with a big guy like, I don't know, Shaquille O'Neal, but not exactly him, but then have him go against Cody Rhodes and play off of elements from real life feuds. So for instance, maybe you could take inspiration from Cody's promos or feuds with MJF, for example, or Chris Jericho, and help you out. So, and thank you, by the way. Oh yeah, 800 subscribers. Thank you so much for getting me to 800 subscribers. Get me to 1,000 next, and then I don't have to live stream on my computer, because on this channel I have to live stream on my computer, which is a bit of a pain, and I'd like to do it through mobile. And the only way you can do that is by getting 1,000 subscribers. So I'd like to do that soon. And thank you all for being subscribed to me as well. I really appreciate it because I want to do more things with this channel. But I'll get back on track with the writing pick fit questions. Right, so Kenny Omega, the new one. The new one's good, the Series 4 one, but the old figures, they're so flimsy, especially the feet. And when I say pick fed, I mean like any kind of show that uses figures. So that could be what Stage Creator does, or it could be pick fed, or it could be like a stop motion show like I do. So I'm kind of keeping the pick fed term broad because that's like, keeps more of them. So, yeah. Right. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask about, any more questions about booking and things? So how do I book Sami Zayn right now? I'm pushing him. So you can go one of two ways with a guy like Sami Zayn. You can have the underdog story. So at the moment, or at least back in NXT, he was known as the guy who was so close to getting the championship, but just fell like a little bit short. And, the underdog story is a good one because it gets people invested in your show. So, for instance, I did one with Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble from number 1 and then having to jump through a bunch of hoops to get to WrestleMania. So with Sami Zayn, you could do something similar where he wins the Rumble from number 1 and you don't expect him to, and then goes to main event WrestleMania. On the other hand, you could do the cowardly heel route because he's doing it pretty well at the moment with his documentary crew and things. But yeah, like a whiny, smaller guy could be a good heel, but he can also be a great baby face. So you just got to decide when you're going to turn him. And the same with Johnny Gargano, actually. He plays both face and heel very well. So, yeah, like a guy like Sami Zayn, you can really slot him into anywhere and he'll do well. So it depends what you want to do with him. Like, I don't think he's like a dominant champion type, but he could be like a cocky, like cowardly heel or just like a strong, sympathetic babyface. Right, so Lashley versus Lesnar. I mean, at the moment, it's a fantasy match, so like legit go for it. But yeah. So sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, like matches like Lashley versus Lesnar haven't been done before. Although if it does end up happening at WrestleMania, which it could do, then maybe steer clear of it. But yeah, those matches are pretty good. One sec. So yeah. Could you do a pick fed without strings? I do. Basically, what I do is I use my hands, so I keep it just out of the frame of the shot. So you don't have to use string. Well, that's probably best you do because it makes, if you learn how to use it, it makes the whole process a lot better. So can you have the same rival matches? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, do you mean the same rivalries or? Yeah. Or all future pay-per-views just on Patreon? No. I'll answer. This is not to do with writing pick fed, but my pay-per-views, they are available on YouTube. They're just on Patreon first. So I put them up in full Patreon because they pay for it and they help support me and do this. So they get kind of early access to that. But then the pay-per-view, I should say, is uploaded to YouTube like a month later. So if you're new, that's how it works. Like I put all my content out there, like, but sometimes it's early access on Patreon. That's all. And like if you can't afford Patreon, like that's totally chill, honestly, because yeah, it will be uploaded to YouTube eventually. It just gives those guys a little bit early access. That's it. Right. So in my Fed, AK's never won a match. He'll never win a match, but then he goes insane, and goes rampage on the entire roster with the Bullet Club, and they hog all the titles. I mean, yeah, it's good to have invasion storylines, like faction-wide storylines. And you know what? Go mad. You don't even have to do Bullet Club. You could create your own, for instance. Like you could have that as a faction there. You could have Austin, Cena, and Triple H, like if you really wanted. Yeah, because I've created a couple of factions in the past. I did the Riot Squad, but not the Riot Squad, as you know, but the ones Hernandez, Hideo Itami, and Kofi Kingston, and they went after the tag titles. So you can create your own factions, and it's a good idea because if the guy is never wins a match, then he can go. That could be a trigger for going and winning some matches. Like losing streaks, used sparingly, they can work. Like I had one where Daniel Bryan, he kind of kept losing after WrestleMania, and then suddenly he went on to the next WrestleMania and won the world title. So, you can have that redemption arc and also just someone go fully turn heel. Johnny Gargano versus Daniel Bryan, again, very good match that you can have in your Fed because it can show off your posing ability because they're both great wrestlers. You can craft a good storyline around that, but then again, maybe doesn't really necessarily need one because it is like a dream match. Yeah, so say you have Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor, and Balor gets injured, and Brock Lesnar takes it. Does that work? Well, Lashley versus Finn, and then Finn is so Finn would get injured and then Brock would take his place. I mean, yeah, you can do that. You can do injury angles. They work very well. So you can take, if you feel like someone's been on the program for too long. For instance, with me, it was John Cena. So he was there for, he'd been there for a while, and I thought I need to take him out. So I did an injury angle at WrestleMania 4, and I will bring him back. So there's no need to ask. But yeah, that like storyline isn't finished. He will be back at some point. But then, yeah, you can bring someone back, and injury angles are good. And then have someone take their place, and then you can find out maybe that Brock Lesnar was the one who injured Finn Balor, and that's how he got the match back. So, like, same rivalries, yeah. Like you can have some of the same rivalries. I've done Triple H versus Shawn Michaels in the past, and I've done like the NWO storyline, which is it's not an exact rehash, but you can take some rivalries from real life. I'm just saying it's better to do ones that are kind of like fantasy based and more unique to your show, because then it will make people want to tune into you. Because I don't know, what are any of your favorite pick fed rivalries? Like, what are your favorite pick feds other than like No Limits Wrestling? Like, what rivalries stand out to you and why? So again, you can kind of take inspiration from other pick feds as well. Don't outright steal ideas and things, but you can certainly like take inspiration from the style and the booking philosophy. Now, before I answer any more questions, I'll just say that watching old wrestling as well is a very good way of coming up with ideas for rivalries and things. Like just before this live stream, I watched an episode of Raw from 2000, and it was the one where you had the big 10-man tag with the Radicals and DX against Cactus Jack, The Rock, and Too Cool, and then Kane comes down at the end and returns. That's a really good show to kind of look at the way that feuds are built. So you've got X-Pac come out at the start, and you think he's going to have a match, but then suddenly the Radicals come out, and it's like, oh, what are you supposed to be doing here? And then immediately you've got like a hook to the show, and you're interested to see what happens next. So maybe when you're booking your show, have something at the start that kind of grabs people's attention, and then say, oh, this is happening now, and oh, something's going to happen at the end of the show. So it builds that intrigue in the viewer's mind, and then it also builds to matches for like future shows, and get on your like promotional game on Instagram or whatever if you want to hype things there, or if your fed is just on Instagram or even YouTube, like get people kind of excited to see your shows. So like I mentioned them like a week in advance or whatever. Yeah, but that's a good like just watching old wrestling. Another good one is Triple H's Bad Day, which is one from 2000, and it's the one where Jericho wins the championship from Triple H, and obviously he doesn't like keep the title, but Triple H ends up having to realize that he's defending the title against The Rock at Backlash, and Austin's the referee, and he goes mental, and then at the end of the night he gets screwed over. So that's a good episode. Any how do I put this? When you're writing a show as well, good shows tend to have like a narrative throughout the night. So most recently on Raw, you had the story of The Miz constantly trying to avoid Bobby Lashley, and he keeps trying to sneak out of there and keep his championship and go back on his word. And then it ends with Bobby Lashley winning the WWE championship at the end of the night. And I thought it was quite a well done like angle. So you're kind of hyped to see the progression of that throughout the evening by having these roadblocks put in front of it. And then it makes you want to, obviously Raw's not the best at the moment, but it's a good way to kind of keep people invested until the end of the show. So yeah, stuff like that. Is it okay if your storylines aren't the most original but fit well into the context of your fed? That's a very good question. Yes, it is. Because I should know. I did the NWO storyline, but it worked in the context of my fed. And for instance, I've got Triple H back in power and like as the executive vice president of NLW. So eventually that will lead to something, and it will have familiar elements of past storylines. But yeah, of course you can have unoriginal storylines, but if they work well in your fed, then go for it. Like at the end of the day, it's what you want to be doing. And if you really do want to copy actual rivalries and matches that you see, then by all means go ahead, because the most important thing with pick fedding and stuff like that is that you enjoy making it and you enjoy watching your own stuff back. Like, don't do it for anyone else but yourself. That's my advice. But yes, if your storylines aren't the most original but fit well into the context, yeah, go for it. Like, do it. And if you've got an example of that, PTW, like, go ahead and shout out. I don't mind. Hi, dude. I'm starting a pick fed and I only have an old laptop. What editing software do you recommend? And how do you transfer clips from your phone to your laptop? I'm still a peasant and I still use Windows Movie Maker, man. So I I put all of the pictures in there, and like you can just set all of them to a certain setting, and it's fine. iMovie as well for like Mac is fine and simple. In terms of like cheap software, Sunny Movie Studio is really good. That's only like, it's 30 quid here. I don't know, like Sunny Movie Studio Platinum as well. No, Sunny Vegas, that's it. That's quite affordable. But yeah, like if you've got an old laptop and like, I don't know if they discontinued Windows Movie Maker, but like you can probably find it for free somewhere, like a developer or anything. But yeah, and then I just, you get a USB, upload the pictures from your phone to your laptop or whatever, and then place them and then set them like 1 second each. And that's how I do it when I'm taking pics on your phone. And again, you don't need the like fancy software. Like sometimes I just use my phone to film and fed. So yeah, I mean, if you've got any more questions, like Tom, you can just put them in the chat. I don't mind asking or clarifying what I've been saying. Thank you as well. Can you do The Rock joining the Undisputed Era? Yeah, like legit, you can do anything you want. I know in W3A, he's got Chris Jericho in the Undisputed Era. So anything can work. And like, by all means, John Cena, for instance, I mean, this isn't like something I might necessarily do. I might do it, I might not. But he could join the Undisputed Era. You know, maybe he sees Adam Cole and is like, well, I can't beat him, I might as well join him. That kind of thing. So you can have legends interact with the current superstars. Like, for instance, on AEW, you got Sting and Darby Allin. You know, why not have The Rock join the Undisputed Era? If it makes sense with the story and it's what you want to say, that's, you know, it works. If you tell it well, it doesn't matter. Like, and you can have The Rock versus Adam Cole and The Rock take over as the leader. You know, he sees potential in perhaps O'Reilly, Fish, and Strong, and he doesn't like Cole. Then maybe you could do a storyline where Cole's the babyface and Rock's the heel, trying to take over. You could do something like that. I had Triple H versus The Rock 3 times now. The third is at WrestleMania 2 this year. Well, yeah, you can do that if you want. Like, I had Triple H and The Undertaker a couple times. I had Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. And when I say you don't want to do things that have already happened in real life, like, that's just a suggestion. Like, you can still do things like Triple H versus The Rock. And anyway, it happened like 20 years ago, so I think it's fair game to use it in your fed if you want. I say stay away from matches that happened most recently, like 5 years plus ago. You're probably good to use, but matches that have happened in the last 5 years, maybe not. So stay away from like Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, for instance. You know, matches that happened really recently. That's just my opinion. Or Edge versus Orton. You know, matches that like just happened in rivalries. Will this be uploaded to the channel after? Yeah, like as of all these live streams, if you wanted to, like, if you need to leave for any reason, that's cool, because they'll all be uploaded and you can watch them at your leisure. So they're currently on the channel. The last live stream I did is also on this channel, so do check that out as well if you haven't already. Like, I answer a fair few questions in that. Could you put your custom superstar in your pick fed? Like, is that directed at me or yourself? Because I won't, but you can. Yeah, you can put your own custom wrestlers in your fed. BEW, he created a bunch of cool characters that he put in his stop motion show, and they're very good. But yeah, you can definitely make your own custom figures of yourself, put them in there, have yourself win the world title if you want. Like, if it makes sense to the story and people are invested in it, you can do that. WEW as well, very cool. WEW champion on Instagram and YouTube, Wrestling Evil Within. He's got some really cool custom characters in there too, and a really cool underground vibe aesthetic. So I'll definitely look at that if you want to like create your own kind of unique style, not like copy it or anything, but like just see, you know, how unique your fed can be, because it's really like out of the box, and I think it's really cool. Right. Joker, John Moxley. Yeah, like that was like another cool twist on a character. So you've got like Joker, John Moxley in WSC, like taking an existing character and kind of molding it into a new one. So yeah, I'm trying to think if I've done that before. Like if I've taken like an established character and kind of changed it drastically. I guess you can say with like the ministry stuff, but even to, like to an extent, like with taking Buddy Murphy in and changing the characters in there and taking the Ascension and putting them with the Undertaker, kind of. But yeah, you can definitely like make a case for that kind of I can't remember. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, wait. Yeah, that's fair. Is Kota going to be an NLW? Yo, I made a Kota Ibushi custom the other day, but that will be a video that I upload to this channel, NLW Figs. So if you want to see my Kota Ibushi custom, subscribe to NLW Figs if you haven't already, because that'll be coming out soon. Right, PTW says, an example is, I'm currently doing Cena versus Punk. Punk debuted years ago with Cody Rhodes to torment Cena. Now Punk is the heel champ, and Cena, who can't win the big one, is challenging Punk. And again, yeah, that's a good one to do. Cena and Punk, yes, they faced off in real life before, but that was a very long time ago, and I've seen no reason as to why you can't tell the story with Punk being the heel and Cena, can't win the big one, because you've got Cody Rhodes in there now as well. Kind of you could have him come back in the outskirts, like for example. So yeah, I'd say that's fair game to do. That's a good idea. How do you book a match where there's someone you want to keep undefeated and a champion you want to stay champion in Extreme Rules match? How would you go about that? Simple. I wouldn't book it, purely because if you've put two wrestlers in there and you want neither man to lose yet, it's best to just save that match. But if I really had to say, so for instance, let's say, because I had Kurt Angle go on an unbeaten run for about 3 years in NLW until he lost to Daniel Bryan. So we'll take him for an example, and we'll put him against, for instance, a champion I don't want to lose. So let's say John Moxley, for instance, is a champion, and he's facing Kurt Angle. Yeah, so an Extreme Rules match, and you don't want to have a DQ or anything. So you want the guy to stay champion and a guy to stay undefeated, right? So if Moxie's the champion, he can win with a choke. So he did with Eddie Kingston, like Full Gear, was it? Or he quit in that one, but he could have a choke in on Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle passes out. He doesn't tap out, so he can technically still be undefeated. They did the same thing with Kurt Angle and Taz back when Angle was undefeated when he first debuted in 2000. Taz choked him out with the Kata Hajime, and he passed out, so he didn't tap out, and he claimed that he was still undefeated. So you could do that if you really wanted to. What do you do with Cena managing Ciampa? Because all Ciampa wants is a star power. Yeah, you can have managers. So in AEW, you've got Jake Roberts managing Lance Archer. And also, I've got currently Ric Flair mentoring Hangman Page in NLW on Metal. So you can have Cena managing Ciampa, and you can have you can pair legends with current superstars to get them over, so to speak. That's a very good idea. I'm trying to start a pick fed, but I don't know where to begin. Watch my how to write a pick fed videos on YouTube, and hopefully that gives you because I tried to make it as basic as possible when I wrote those videos, just so that if you were starting off, you could literally start from scratch. Like when I started, I had a ring this size. It was like a spring ring, and I had a bunch of DVDs that I stacked up. Watch my episode 1 and just see how basic my arena is. I just got the basic SmackDown set, a ring, an announce table, put a barricade around that. You can see the progression as it goes along. It's very basic. So the best way to start is just to set up a really simple arena, get a small ring like this if you don't want to spend that much money, because especially this AEW one, because it's not a spring ring, it's very sturdy, and I'd recommend getting this if if you're tight on cash, because it's I think probably $20. So it's the cheapest ring you can find, and it's very sturdy and very good value for money, in my opinion. So yeah, just get one of those. Get a simple, even a poster, maybe. I don't know, is your entranceway, and then just start filming and see how it goes. And I know I keep plugging my own videos and my own tutorials, but like I had them in mind of, I had the mindset of like, if you're like going in like with no knowledge or nothing, so I would say watch those, because I do try and go in as much detail as possible, is what I'd say. But yeah, just like literally start it and see what happens, because what's the worst that can happen, you know? This isn't much of a question, but fancy book Raw Underground in a pick fed style. Yeah, do that, because also fancy booking stuff that you want to do is yeah, a really good idea. And I think a Raw Underground style shoot, fight, feel, vibe fed would be really good. I want to start pick fed, but I don't know what video to start it on. In terms of like, I don't know. I guess you could, as I said before, like just get a ring, get a camera, and just start, and then see what happens. Like, it does take time to get better, because when I started, you can see how it wasn't great. Although I did do like pick feds before that. They just didn't make it to YouTube. Like I had one called like Mayhem, and it had like a cool entranceway at the time, and just had, you know, a really basic structure. And it's a shame I've lost all the footage from it, but I really enjoyed making it. So what would you recommend using for promos? In terms of like YouTube clips you can get, if you don't want to voice them, that's a good shout. How would I go about booking stipulation matches, e.g. special referee, I quit? Use them sparingly. I usually have like one big kind of cage match every pay-per-view, or like a big event match. So I've got like a Royal Rumble or a Hell in a Cell, like on Enter the Dragon, or upcoming I've got the Elimination Chamber at Ungovernable. Have like one or two big stipulation matches per show, maybe more actually, now that I think about it, but don't overuse them. And only use them if you need to. So for instance, if John Cena and Roman Reigns are going to start a rivalry, you don't want to start with the Hell in a Cell match, unless it's like WrestleMania worthy, I guess. You'd rather have like a match between Cena and Reigns that ends, and then it goes on to an I Quit match, or it goes on to have a stipulation match. And like special referee matches as well are good ways to get an angle across. I haven't done one in a while, but I really should, because they're a good storytelling tool. So you could have you know, the angle of the crooked referee, or the referee who wants the championship. You know, there's plenty of good examples out there, especially the one with I think Shawn Michaels, when he reffed the SummerSlam match between The Undertaker and Brett, I want to say. So that's a good example of a special ref angle, because you think the feud is between Michaels and Hart, and then suddenly at the end of the match, it turns into a feud between Michaels and Taker, and while the rest of his history led to the first Hell in a Cell. So any name ideas for a fed? Your name could be a good one. Like if your name's like, I don't know, Williams Championship Wrestling. Oh, that's WCW. Better. Williams Wrestling Federation. Oh, but no, that's WWF. Damn, I'm legit. That was legit. Wait. I guess you could have. So if your name was like Callum or something, you could have Callum's Championship Wrestling CCW. I guess it's already existed, that actually. It's difficult to find a name, actually, now that I think about it. I'm lucky I stumbled across No Limits Wrestling. High Stakes Wrestling, HSW. There you go. That's a good one. Pro Wrestling Extreme, PWE. There's probably someone out there with that name, actually, come to think of it. Sorry if I'm outing anyone who's already got that name. Search the like cool names like Octane, Turbo Wrestling Extreme. Extreme is always a good one. Hardcore Wrestling, you know, stuff like that. Keep it to free. But there's more free names rather for an acronym. But there's so many like you can use. I don't know. I've got Kitten Canada here, so I'm trying to think. Kitten Wrestling Extreme. Sounds illegal. I don't want that. But yeah, you know what I mean. How come you're such a good customizer? Even though I've been trying for 4 years and haven't made a single custom. Yo, I am not a good customizer whatsoever, and I'm like, it literally just takes practice. And if you see some of the early customs I've made, they're absolutely atrocious. And I've only now just started to get a tiny bit better. Unless you're like in the business of like sculpting and stuff like that. Like customizing is very hard, and it's it's a very good. It's a what's the word? It's a very difficult skill to pick up. So it's fine. The Rock becomes leader of UE and goes on one-on-one with Stone Cold. Yeah, I mean, it's a different angle to take with it because it's not just Stone Cold versus The Rock. You've also got the added factor of the Undisputed Era there. Bell's a Jeff Hardy Joker. Yeah, Hardy Joker, that's a good one. Evil takes over the Ministry of Darkness. Again, that's a really good one. Because, he's got that kind of supernatural side to him. So why not have him as like the leader, so to speak? Right, so... All right, I'm about to have Jeff Hardy heel cut promo, but Braun Strowman interrupts him. Jeff's world champ, Braun's Money in the Bank, and cut promo. Would you watch that? Yeah, I would. But you can make it a little bit more interesting by having perhaps a promo, but then Braun sort of tries to cash in Money in the Bank, and Jeff like rolls out just before he manages to do that. Because there's always something you can do to kind of hook the viewer in. Like having a promo off is good, but there's always like one little thing, and maybe you have like Jeff Hardy low blow Braun, and then Braun is like pissed off or whatever. Do I fish wire or do I balance it with moves that aren't flying? The only times I balance it are with my hands out of shot, so I don't really use string with mine. Oh, that's actually a really good one. How would I book a Royal Rumble? So you want to start off. Right, I've been looking forward to this question popping up because I've actually got like a theory about how you book Royal Rumbles. So, number one has to be a big star, and he has to be one of the favourites to win the Rumble. So, we'll take the last Royal Rumble I did. My number one was John Cena, and he was one of the favourites to win that Rumble. Number two as well has to be a big star. Maybe it's going to be a return, maybe not. Could be a debut as well. One year I had at number two, I had RVD debuting in the show. So have number one and number two be really big names. Number 3 to number 6. This is very specific, but number 3 to number 6 don't necessarily have to be that big names, but you want to keep interest there. So they can't be jobbers yet. They have to be like somewhat big names. Number 7, 8, or 9, that's when you want to put another big name in. And then you can go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Have a debut in the match. So someone that no one's ever seen before. Go along. 18, big name. And by the way, by big name, I mean someone who could realistically win it. Like you can still have solid wrestlers in there that might not win it, like Cesaro's and Gargano's and stuff like that. And then 20, you want another strong one because that's like 2/3 of the way through. 21, 22. At 22, have a big maybe a return or a mini return or a debut. Number 25 onwards has to be full of star power. So you want 25 Goldberg, 26 Brock Lesnar, 27 Undertaker, and then go up until 29. And then number 30 is either a huge return or a huge debut. So in my first Royal Rumble, it was a huge debut with Triple H. Second Royal Rumble I did, it was Balor. Third Royal Rumble, Edge was already number 30. So it would have been like Shinsuke Nakamura at number 29. And just have like a big ending. And then you want pepper in some interesting multi-man spots throughout the match. Maybe include one where you have, for instance, I did Brock Lesnar. No, wait, this is a better one. I had in the last Royal Rumble I did, Cena gets pulled out of the ring by the Undisputed Era and taken out. And that could be like a storyline thread going on within the match. So have interlinking stories between wrestlers. A really good example of a good Royal Rumble would be either the 2021, that was really good. The 2020 Royal Rumble, that was a really good Rumble. Even the 2021 Royal Rumble was a very good Royal Rumble in terms of like storylines and interlinking characters and things. So yeah, definitely check those ones out. And you want a strong final 4. So they could all realistically win it. The final 3 as well, they have to be ones that you're potentially going to put in the world title mix. And then the number 2, the last 2, rather, fight off very strong final 2. So if I go through the final 2 I've had in every Rumble I've had, I've got Triple H and The Undertaker, Undertaker and CM Punk, Seth Rollins and Edge, and the last one I did was Kurt Angle and Daniel Bryan. So that's how I would go about booking a Royal Rumble. And if there's anything else you want to know on how to book a Rumble, then do let me know by commenting on the post. So, would I recommend Matt versus Jeff? But Jeff says it's business, not personal. But Matt thinks he did it and it was personal. I'm kind of doing Matt versus Jeff. Well, not really Matt versus Jeff at the moment, but Jeff is kind of like annoyed at Matt because Matt's bothered with sanity in NLW, and Jeff Hardy's like starting to get a little bit more cocky as Mr. Money in the Bank. So now he's said, I can't deal with this, Matt. I'm stepping away. And now Matt Hardy, he has to fight sanity. But the question is, for episode 91, cheap plug, will Jeff Hardy return and save Matt Hardy, or will Matt Hardy get crushed by sanity? We will see. But yeah, like, Matt versus Jeff is fine as long as you come up with a new angle with it. Like, it's been done a lot, and I'm saying that as someone who's doing it right now, so I'm kind of a hypocrite. But you want to sort of make it unique to your show, so that's fine. Internet World Wrestling, that's a good one. American National Wrestling, that's another good one. And yes, that Adam Cole custom as well, that was terrible. Riddle being babyface versus heel Prince Devitt. Yeah, like that can work because you've got the serious demeanor of Balor, and then kind of a little bit of a more goofy, likable side of Riddle. So that's a good one. When's the next Rumble happening? It will happen. The next Royal Rumble will happen later this year. It won't be the next pay-per-view, but it might be the one after. So do look out for it, because I'm going to do one and then lead into WrestleMania 5 at the end of this year. Big Money Matt Hardy becomes general manager of NLW. Dude, that's a pretty big brain idea. I might steal it. We'll see. But I do like the gimmick of Big Money Matt Hardy. Oh no, it's fine, by the way, man. You don't have to copy me. Like, literally, if you want to copy me, like, I don't care. Obviously not outright, but you can do matches that I've done just with your own like take. I don't mind. What about Braun cashes in on Jeff on the promo, and Aleister Black, who's feuding with Hardy, Black masses Braun so he can face Jeff? Yeah, like, you introduce a new character that way. That's pretty good. Bullet Club versus Rollins, and yeah, the Disciples again. That's a good one. I like the storylines where you've got. By the way, fill the live chat up with any questions you've got while I answer this, because then I can get through them, because I'm kind of up to date now. So just keep putting in questions in the chat. I'll go for I'm moving like 10 or like 15 more minutes. Yeah, so you can have guys like Seth Rollins lead a group, and then that introduces more characters to your show. So for instance, I had the NWO come in, but I had them initially, it was just Kevin Nash and the Big Show as the legends. And then around that, I put R-Truth in there. I had the commissioner come, and then a big heel turn happened. So you had Shawn Michaels come in and align himself with the NWO. And then I had the debut of Seth Rollins in the show. And that's how I introduced him and built him up as like a main event talent to the point where he won the World Championship. And yeah, so it's a good way to introduce characters, is having like a faction like the Undisputed Era, because you can always split guys off. Like, take Kyle O'Reilly, for instance. In real life, he's now getting, I hope he's getting a singles push. And then that's kind of a way to introduce him. And then all the other guys can go after mid-card titles or whatever. And yeah, a guy like Seth Rollins, for instance, if he brings in his disciples, you like, in real life, it's the AOP and Buddy Murphy. Then Murphy can split off and do his own thing. It's a shame he's not doing anything in real life now, but in your Fed, for instance, he can do his own thing. And it's a good avenue to kind of make fresh matches. And that's what I'm doing with the ministry at the moment. I'm trying to introduce these new characters, or at least develop the characters I've got, like Murphy, Christian, and so on. So how have I got the War Games set? No, I don't. I don't like it because it's quite small. And I've already got like a Hell in a Cell cage that I can use for it. So that's good. How do I make an interesting first episode of a pick fed? So I would say the first episode of your pick fed, you want to kind of set the tone. So I don't have it on me, but I had in my first the tutorial I did on how to write a pick fed, I know I keep mentioning it, but if you go on that, I've written out my own custom quick episode. So it goes through match by match by match and like segment and stuff. So if you want to make a first interesting episode, I would start with a tournament. So I would have 2 quarterfinals on the first episode, and that means you can introduce. So we'll take old Finn Balor out there for a minute. Let's say on your first episode, I know it's kind of like a stretch, but you could have, for instance, these are the 2 quarterfinal matches in your Fed. Your main event is Triple H versus Cena, and you start with a strong match in Roman Reigns and Stone Cold. I wouldn't start with a promo. I'd start with a match in your first show, because then it kind of sets the tone. And I'd try and steer clear of promos until you've had a couple of episodes, because that way you can kind of focus on the wrestling and then add the storyline elements after you've built to this first show. So when I started NLW, it was I did a tournament for my first show, and I'm kind of happy with how I booked it. Obviously, the quality of it is trash, but the way I booked it, I quite liked, because I had the first quarterfinals of the tournament. So the first match I ever did for NLW was Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton, and in that match, Chris Jericho came down and threw Randy Orton through a barricade so he could get an advantage in the tournament, and that led to one of the initial rivalries in NLW, which was Jericho and Randy Orton. And then from there, the main event of that show was Cena versus Kane, and it was a good chance to show off Cena and Kane, as well as 2 big characters immediately on my show. I also had a Battle Royal. A Battle Royal is a good way to introduce a new title. So I had a Hardcore Battle Royal, which Hardcore Holly won, and that set off his trajectory. And I had a couple of promos here and there. I think maybe I had one hyping up like a guy like Batista, maybe, or maybe that was like later on. But yeah, like, you want to start off strong, end strong, set up matches for the pay-per-view, perhaps like 1 or 2. Like when I did it, it was Jericho and Orton. But yeah, like if there's any like specific questions, like if you want to make a first episode, I'd just say just go in and do it. Like if you as I said, write the pay-per-view first and then work backwards to your first episode. So, for instance, you've got 3 episodes before the pay-per-view. Write the pay-per-view matches. I want the main event to be, I don't know, Roman Reigns versus John Cena or something like that. And then you work backwards. Okay, well, how am I going to tell the story of them getting there? Right, on my first episode, I'm going to have Roman Reigns pass John Cena in the backstage corridor. And there's going to be tension there. And they're going to be like, I see you kind of thing. And then you build it. The next week, maybe, Roman Reigns is at ringside for Cena's win, and then the final match or the final show before the pay-per-view, Roman Reigns spears John Cena, poor Cena, but and then that sets up the pay-per-view. So that's kind of how you want to go about it. Right. Hold on. Just filmed the Rumble. Rollins came in at 1, lasted until the last 3 of Moxley and Edge. Rollins gets eliminated by Moxley, and then Edge eliminates Moxley. Then Edge eliminated, then Edge wins. That's a good way to book a Rumble, because you've built up Seth Rollins. He didn't have to win, but he lasted a really long time. I was going to have Seth Rollins and his disciples would be Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix. That is a fantastic stable. Like Lucha Brothers and Rollins, that'd be insane. Yeah, do that. That's very good. What's the best app to make a pick fed using a phone? Like, I wouldn't even use an app, to be honest. Just use literally use your phone. I wouldn't say you need to use an app for a pick fed. Maybe for stop motion you want one, but I don't know what apps there would be out there. I'm sure someone can name them in the comments, but yeah, like literally just take photos with your camera. Like you don't really need an app for pick fed. It's more so stop motion. And good luck for anyone who's just started making pick feds and things. What do I feel about R-Truth and Cactus Jack being goofy, trying to capture your 24/7 title, but AJ is taking it serious? Mick Belt, yeah, that's good because you can mix seriousness with comedy quite well. So if you've got a guy like R-Truth, or for instance, like Santino Marella, when he nearly won the world title in the Chamber against Brian, that was quite a good clash of like comedy versus serious. And anything the New Day is in is fantastic. Like, oh god, what was it? Was it Kofi when he had a promo against Samoa Joe because they were going to have a match? I think it was Samoa Joe. I'm like 80% sure it was. And Kofi just kind of gave him like a sly grin and gave him the middle finger. That was fantastic. So it's the seriousness versus the goofiness, I think works incredibly well, especially when, last year at Revolution, it was Orange Cassidy and Pac. Just, such a fantastic match. Like, legit, watch that if you haven't. It's like storytelling 101. Is it bad to split up too many tag teams? If you've got like strong, it's not necessarily. Maybe they do it too often because I don't think I've done a breakup angle for a tag team in a long time. So just if you've got like strong, if they'd be better as singles. For example, if you were going to split like the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix are fantastic singles acts as they are. So that's a good example of breaking up a tag team. A bad example would perhaps be Heavy Machinery, because Otis is pretty alright on his own, but like Tucker not so much. So it'd be better to have them together. That makes sense. Right. Had a 4-minute match and then 20-second match. How do I spread out my time? In terms of like timing of matches, I've kind of just learned to let's see. Trying to read through what was going on. What the hell was I talking about just then? Right. Yeah, all right. In terms of like spreading out making timings during matches, it's good to have a long main event. Well, not too long. Like 3 to 4 minutes is ideal for like a main event match. Maybe like 2 to 4 minutes, and then like matches in between building up can be like anywhere like 2 minutes each, maybe probably a bit longer. Like it all depends on what you're feeling, but don't have matches that are too short. So maybe keep them longer than like a minute and a half. I'd say is my advice for most of them, unless it's like a proper squash, in which case you go nuts. Like what to do. I'll try and make my feud Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe. Yeah, I mean, it's been done before, but like in real life, and it's been done quite recently. So I'd be careful with that kind of thing. But if you like think of a new sort of angle and also like to take it, I think why not? I mean, they're great wrestlers. Yes, Stop Motion Studio, good app. What I recommend for lighting in a pick fed, I use a big photography lamp, so you can get them pretty cheap on. Well, not that cheap, but you can get like a big. So it's got like a big umbrella at the end. It's like a big what lamp. I don't know what you would call it, but it's an umbrella, like a photography lamp with like an umbrella. It kind of lights up the whole room and makes it look pristine and clean. You know, like the white light type stuff. So I'll show you an example. You don't want your pick fed looking like that because that's just it's a bit dark and naff. But like light it up so you can kind of really see the figures. But yeah, get like a big photography lamp. So, take photos with a normal camera is fine, and you can put it together in like Filmmaker or iMovie. Stable called the Icons, HBK, Samoa Joe, Batista, Randy, and AJ Styles. Yeah, do that kind of thing. Kind of reminds me like the main event Mafia in TNA, where you got all the legends put together in this big faction. And if you want to have like your own spin on that, or any like icons or like good wrestlers, like you could like, even have like something like AJ, Daniels, and Joe, old Bobby Roode, like TNA Originals, maybe if you want to do that kind of thing, like the Orlando 6 or I don't know. But yeah, it's a good idea to have like your own stables like that, especially like legends and things. With the 24/7 title, I did an angle where Dude Love won the title, then Mankind won the title. Is Cactus Jack going to get involved? No, I've moved on from that at the moment. Although I should have, I should have included Cactus Jack. Oh no, I did include. Did I? No, I should have. But no, for now that kind of that chapter of the 24/7 is gone at the moment. How do I feel about Buddy Murphy versus Adam Cole? Great match, yes. Do that. That's a good. What's the word? Yeah, that's a good good rivalry to have. You're doing Brody Lee, Strowman, and Joe and Rowan versus Moxley to lead to Moxley versus Brody. Yeah, like you can do that. That's a good idea. Has anyone got any more questions? By the way, I might wrap it up in a bit. But if anyone's got any final questions, I'll just answer them in the last like 5-10 minutes. Because yeah, I'll answer it. You just leave a few more questions in the chat, and I'll just talk to you about NLW quick. But yeah, just like pop any questions you got in the chat, and I'll answer them in like a moment. I'll just talk to you about like what's going on with NLW in terms of like writing at the moment and things. So at the moment, I'm building to Ungovernable, and that's going to be up on April 10th. Will be part 1 on YouTube. But if you do want to watch it right now on Patreon, you can. You must be at least 13 years or older, and it's like $3 to sign up. But obviously, you don't have to. You can wait until April 10th if you want. But the full show is available on Patreon right now. If you want to go and support the channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. And I'll give you a little shout out in my in the description of all my videos, and I'll make sure to like shout out all the patrons at the end of the month. But yeah, like go ahead, and there's also like a bunch of exclusive NLW 24/7 matches on there. So if you do want to watch Ungovernable for $3, you get all that as well. And also, yeah. So tomorrow's Metal, that is the final qualifier for the Elimination Chamber. And it's going to be Big Battle Royal, and the winner goes on to the Chamber, and then the final field will be set. There's also going to be McIntyre versus Nakamura on that show. And I'm starting a new thing with Edge, who's going to try and be the ultimate opportunist again in his singles run. So you can take guys who, you know, this is just an example of writing. You can take guys who've been in a tag team and, you know, put them in a singles capacity. I know Edge is obviously a massive single star as it is, but in my Fed, he was at least teaming with Christian for quite a while, and now he's on his own again. And he'll be starting a thing where he's trying to get a partner, a tag team partner again, to try and help him out. So he's gonna, I think tomorrow he'll be like trying to convince Kurt Angle to join forces with him, and he'll kind of try and get to Moxley as well. And this is setting something up for after Ungovernable. So Edge at the moment is in the Elimination Chamber. Moxley and Angle have got their own thing going on. And I'm going to try and meld the two stories together a little bit in the coming weeks. And that's not really a spoiler. It's just kind of sort of a hype, a promo for things to come. But you can definitely like intermingle storylines. So you don't have to have stuff on an island where, you know, only Moxley and Angle can fight each other, or only the Elimination Chamber people can fight each other. You can have interwoven storylines going on. I think I need to do that a little bit more actually, in terms of like writing NLW, because at the moment I feel like maybe things are too like isolated. I need to get back to interweaving things, and that's what I tried to do with the Austin storyline, where all the people were signing a petition to get Austin fired, and you saw the different kind of storyline threads going on there, where Austin was stunning everyone individually, but he stunned Jeff Hardy, but Jeff Hardy's getting cocky, and that's related to Matt Hardy, and he also attacked Lashley, who's been trying to get the world title, but he signed the petition to try and get the championship. Anyway, it's just like different storyline threads. Write everything down as well. That's a good piece of advice I've got. So 1 second. I'll answer your questions in a sec. But yeah, and then next, not this Saturday, because this Saturday's Metal. Do watch it. It's a good battle royal in my opinion. Next Saturday will be NLW episode 91, and it is one of the weirdest matches I've ever filmed for NLW because it's going to be the Insane Deletion. So it's Matt Hardy versus Sanity. It's mostly video. It's different to anything I've filmed before. I think, other than, well, maybe, yeah. I think it's probably different to anything I've filmed before for NLW, the actual show. And I had a lot of fun filming it, and it was creative things. I went outside, it was pouring down with rain, but it was really cool because the rain was pouring down while I was filming. So it comes down to Matt Hardy. Yeah, tune in next Saturday to watch that, and then we'll find out if Stone Cold will remain as the commissioner or not. And that's going to be an exciting angle that's going to take place on that night. I won't spoil it, but it's quite exciting. And a bunch of cool matches like Mustafa Ali and Grand Metalik and Rey Mysterio and Kofi Kingston. And then Chris Jericho will be on the show as well. He'll be back. And I won't tell you what he's doing yet, but yeah. And the matches, the shows I've got planned after Ungovernable are going to get very, very exciting and chaotic week by week. I'm really trying to ramp up the intensity in the shows. I mean, they're good now, but I'm building towards something even better, especially as we head into what will be the next NLW pay-per-view. And then after that, hopefully I'll do a Royal Rumble, and it'll get episode 100. Man, I am planning some very, very big, exciting stuff for episode 100, and I'm very much looking forward to you guys seeing it. And I'm just hoping we can get there sooner rather than later. But it'll be on YouTube by the end of the year. But oh man, episode 100, baby. That's what we're aiming for. Right, so boom, boom, boom. I'll answer some of these questions finally. So, how do you get around doing pick fed with basics? So, there's methods you can use rather than use the feet tools because obviously they don't have good joint manipulation at the feet. You can do things where you have them standing still, like that. But then rather than have them stood like that, you can do more with bending. I know this is obviously like an elite, but for example, you bend them at the waist, which saves a lot of hassle for posing with basics. But there are ways you can do it. Trying to get out of the shot. Yeah. So here's a basic Kevin Nash that I've used for pick feds before. So rather than move them at the feet like this, what I'll tend to do instead is kind of show more posing ability at the waist like that. So there's a clothesline and then bam like that. So you bend them at the hip rather than moving them at the legs. They're obviously not as good as using elites, but you work what you got with. You will work with what you've got, so it's fine. Roman Reigns in a mid-card hardcore title feud with Kevin Owens. Yeah, that's fine, but again, consider that Reigns and Kevin Owens are at the very moment are actually feuding right now in hardcore type matches. So it's you can take inspiration from real life, but it's better to kind of steer away from stuff that's happened literally just now. But it's fine. Maybe swap out Kevin Owens for someone I don't know, or even Reigns for someone Sheamus, or just mix up the brands maybe. I don't know. But if you really want to do Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, you can do that. Happy birthday to you. Wait. How do you make your show so fast? The answer to do I make my shows fast? I don't. I already have everything filmed up until Ungovernable. I filmed Ungovernable, and then after that, I filmed all the content for the next 3 episodes after Ungovernable for Metal, and now I'm in the process of shooting NLW episode 93, 94, 95, and 96, which will be the ones leading into the next pay-per-view. So I just animate very far in advance so that if I do get demotivated or there's a point where I'm lacking in terms of motivation and stuff, then I'll be able to take a break and still have stuff to upload. So that's why I don't get them out fast. I just do a lot. I have like quick bursts of enthusiasm and motivation to do these, and then there's not a lot of the time I just don't have the motivation to do it. But when I do, I try and plan my time so I get a lot done. Yeah, like I'll show you what I got here. This is from like episode, I don't know if you can see that, probably not, but you can see where I planned episode 86 and 87, and I've got what I want to film, and I tick it off like that, and it's just a means of trying to get organized, really. But yeah, where's the yeah, and by the way, I don't think I showed any spoilers. No, I didn't. No, that's up to date. But yeah, it's just a matter of me keeping organized, and I've got ways of shortcuts and plans about it. Do I have posing tips? Make sure you consider the limbs of each. Like, make sure you consider the posing of each limbs, I should say. So for Triple H, like, you know, that's a good pose. A clothesline. Just I'll show you what looks better. Obviously, you move from the arm, but if he just goes like that, that's not as expressive as if he was to use his whole body, use the legs like that, and then really go back with the clothesline. If that makes sense. So like that, and also you can get a lot of story and expression through with the moves like that. So he sets up for the clothesline and bam, like he really like follows through a bit like that. So that's just like a basic tip for posing. I mean, that's kind of the basis for all of it. Just consider every limb, how every limb would move. How does Kenny Omega versus Edge sound? Again, yeah, that's a really good idea because it's two different eras from two different promotions. That's a really good fantasy match, and they're both Canadian as well, so you can play something off of that. You know, Edge is the ultimate opportunist. Kenny Omega, he's like the best bout machine. So Edge might, you know, sneak his way into a victory. That's a really good one. Someone did Darby Allin versus John Morrison. Yeah, again, that's a really good match because they're both high flyers. You know, you guys, you get it. Like they're both different kind of similar styles. You've got the parkour from John Morrison. It kind of clashes with the daredevil skateboarding of Darby Allin. So that's a really interesting match to put together. How many matches do I recommend for a show? For a pay-per-view, you want to have about 5 or 6, I would say. Maybe 7 if you're pushing it. For just a regular episode, I'd say if you're starting out, just have the 3 because it makes it a lot simpler. What about Jake the Snake Roberts versus Adam Cole, I guess, I'm guessing, because he thinks part-timers are useless, but Jake believes he's still got wrestling left in the tank. Yes, intergenerational matches are great because you can do matches that haven't happened in real life. So, for instance, I did, I know I keep harping on about it, but Austin versus Punk. You can do, different generations wrestling. So, again, I had Angle versus Bryan, for instance, or Angle versus Naito. You know, different eras of wrestling colliding. That always makes for a good story. So, Jake the Snake's good. Any thoughts on the certified G's joining NLW? Maybe. I mean, I do. I'm not a massive fan. Like, I was so huge into Enzo and Cass back in the day. Not so much now, but you know, well, why not? I guess they're cool. They're good characters. Like whatever you think, he's a polarizing figure. Is Enzo, but he's funny on the mic. So here's what it is. Drake Maverick, the leader of a cult called British Cult. Yeah, why not? Again, you're repurposing a character for a new, different. It's like a fresh idea. So that's a great idea to have him be a leader for a stable. Let's see. WWE versus AEW. I mean, in terms of like real life, or but yeah, I mean you could do that in your Fed like WWE versus AEW. That's always good for potential matches. How would you recommend booking a Survivor Series match? Not the perfect Survivor Series match, but one that I booked that I felt worked really well was the NWO versus NLW at WrestleMania 2 that I did. So I'll take you through my booking philosophy for that one. to kind of give you an overall idea of how I book a pick fed or a pick fed Survivor Series. So you've got the two teams. I would say you want to get a fast elimination in there to really grab attention. So for me, I had R-Truth get eliminated immediately, and that kind of shocked everyone. And then the baby faces seemed to have the match in hand. And then from there, I would trade a couple of people to get taken off their teams. And then from there, when you're down to like 3 apiece, the baby faces could lose 2 different people. And then it's down to 3-on-1 heels versus baby faces. And from there, like for instance, when I had it, it was Jeff Hardy alone for NLW versus Scott Hall, Seth Rollins, and Shawn Michaels from the NWO. And then that builds sympathy for the babyface, Jeff Hardy in this instance, and the heels, they're beating down on him. But Jeff Hardy, he manages to make a comeback, eliminates both Scott Hall and Seth Rollins, so now it's down to 1-on-1. And from here, you can either decide to have the heel go over, which in that case was Michaels, or you can have Jeff Hardy overcome the valiant babyface and win. But even if he loses, he is strong because he managed to fight 3-on-1 odds. So yeah, watch my, like, for anyone who hasn't seen it, obviously, like if you've not seen the WrestleMania 2 NLW versus NWO match I did, then that is how, like, the perfect Survivor Series idea I would book, at least. But yeah, I don't have any of the Decade of Domination figures because I don't think they're available in the UK. Jeff beats Braun because of Alistair, and he says he's defended it more than any other champ. Well, if that's true, then yeah, like go for it. Like you want to put little storyline threads that you've been building up and drop them in promos to kind of remind people as well. That's a good idea. I'm going to do Survivor Series with one brand. You can do Survivor Series with one brand. No, you don't have to do different brands for Survivor Series matches. Like in my instance, it was NWO versus NLW, which was a faction-based one. So you don't have to do 2 brands. Like even if you just got the one brand, you could do, like, for instance, if you've got like a faction of people like the Undisputed Era, put them against Bullet Club, for instance, or even or even do what they did, like what they used to do, where you'd have a team of faces and a team of heels going at each other. Like you can just do that, and it's more creative that way, in my opinion. Favorite WSC match. The what are they? I like the Deadly Games matches. Again, if you can think of from WSC, if you can think of matches that are like unique to your Fed, that goes a long way. I know it's not unique to my Fed, but the one I did was like the Triple Cage match from a couple of years ago, because it only been done like twice in WCW, and so it'd been a while since anyone had seen it. But then, like, people have been clamoring for it for years, and I can tell you that I want to do a Triple Cage match again in the near future. It just depends when I do it, but yeah, like have matches that are unique to your Fed. That'd be a good shout. Drake Maverick in the NWO, yeah, why not? You can do that. Drake Maverick is I like him. I like watching Rockstar Spud. Am I going to feature the 24/7 title in the NLW show in future? No, I like that. I like that to be separate to NLW. I want it because NLW 24/7 is a completely separate universe to NLW and Metal. It's his own fantasy series, so I don't think so. And also, it would confuse people if I suddenly had a 24/7 title in there. And I did used to do have the 24/7 rule for the hardcore title, but I decided to retire that because it was just getting a bit confusing. What I think is Jeff Hardy winning the Royal Rumble as a heel. Yeah, do it. Because Hardy, he's a great heel, and you can have your own spin on it. And if you want him to win the title at Mania, like, that's your prerogative. SmackDown or AEW? AEW for me. I mean, I haven't really watched SmackDown recently, but I don't know. That might be a good video, actually. Is SmackDown still good? Because the ones I did, is AEW still good and is NXT still good? They did pretty well. So I might sit down and watch an episode of SmackDown and let you know what I think about it. That might be a good show. But yeah, I think that seems to be most of the questions. I'll just briefly go over I mean, I will keep answering. AJ Styles trying to get back at the main event picture, but keeps losing in the mid card. Yeah, again, you can do redemption arcs like that. So I'll just sum up by saying, you want to keep your story simple. You don't want to have too many stories going at it. I would stick to 3 championships, a roster of 10 to 20 people. You want to have 3 matches a show for your pay-per-views, maybe 5 or 6 matches. And stick to fantasy matches, because matches that have happened in real life, they tend to get overdone. And you want to make sure that your fed is unique. Have your own unique style. If you want inspiration, go and watch other pick feds. Go and watch real life wrestling and see how they book their shows. For instance, Raw in the Attitude Era, SmackDown 2016, the SmackDown Live era, and AEW and NXT today. You know, see how they book their shows and try and apply that to yours. But realistically, you can do, you know, anything you want to do. Like, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you're happy doing what you're doing. So if you really want to like copy, I wouldn't say copy. If you want to take inspiration from like real life feuds and things, then by all means do it. At the end of the day, making a pick fed is about having fun, and it shouldn't. What the main thing is, make it something that you're proud of doing. Don't make it for anyone else but yourself. That makes sense. Yeah. Write a show that you'd want to watch. It's my biggest piece of advice. And I know how broad that is. So thank you for everyone. Joe versus Buddy Murphy, that's a good one. Thank you for everyone for tuning in to this live stream. I will do another one in 2 weeks, perhaps, where I live stream anime. I hope to do one. Make sure that you subscribe to this NLW Figs channel, because as soon as I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll be able to easily do live streams on my phone instead of on the computer, which is a massive pain. But yeah, and there's going to be more episodes of NLW Turbo coming, so like more unique pick fed matches in that sense. There's going to be more unboxings, more unique videos. I've got Revolution predictions, all sorts of reviews coming out. So your support would be greatly appreciated. And I would like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for 800 subscribers on this channel. It's insane. I mean, we've recently hit 30,000 on the main NLW channel, which I'm sure most of you subscribe to already, but like just a heads up, like go and subscribe to No Limits Wrestling as well. And yeah, like 800 subs, fantastic. We're just 200 away. If you're new, just subscribe, please. You don't even have to watch my videos. Just subscribe. I need that those 1,000 subs, because I really want to live stream on this channel more regularly. And if I can do that on my phone, that'll be ideal. And yeah, like that's basically it. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being a part of this live stream. And I will catch you guys later. Okay, I'm going to end the stream. Bye, and thank you so much. See you very soon.